Tell me about the concussions.
My short-term memory is not nearly as good as it used to be.
This is your scan. Here are the concussions. In areas where you might have trouble finding words and short-term memory.
Interesting.
Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to do this and looking forward to it. I read your history. I have a pretty good idea what's going on. Tell me about the concussions.
About 3 years ago, I was inline skating around a lake in front of my house. The path developed cracks, and I put my skate in one of them, and I had sort of a glancing blow the first time, but it hit my head hard enough that I knew, I better get this checked out. Went to the emergency room. I didn't feel many repercussions afterwards, but I thought, from now I'm gonna wear a helmet. And then 3 months after that, wearing a helmet, rollerblading around the same lake, I hit a pothole. I didn't even remember hitting it, but the next thing I knew, there were paramedics picking me up off of the pavement. And it turns out I'd been knocked out for 20 minutes. I know enough about concussions that sometimes you have headaches and sometimes you have depression. But I didn't notice any of that. What I have noticed that it's my double vision. I'm wearing glasses here with prisms on it. Got worse. And I don't know what the test revealed, but my own assessment is my short-term memory is not nearly as good as it used to be. Now that may just be because I'm over 40, but it may be because, that knock on my head. And then I had a third bounce in my head. Bicycling, somebody put a chain over the same trail I took in. When I took it out, I didn't see it in the dark, and I was probably going 15 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, my bicycle is going 0 miles an hour, and I'm still going 15, and I did a head plant 3 times in less than a year. It's part of the reason why I'm so interested to come here today.
Yeah, and the thing you noticed is your memory's not as sharp.
That's correct.
Other people say you have ADD. Tell me about that.
Well, I don't know. It's not a clinical. As people around me I care about say that I'm not, that I tend to jump around a lot. I have a very active brain, and I ran blue zones, and I write and I speak, and I tend to be very active, and I tend to do things in a nonlinear way. So I don't know if this is a mental health disease or if it's just the way I'm wired. And
but it's only a mental health condition if it interferes with your life. Like people leave you for it, or you get fired from it, or it's causing you or your loved ones undue stress.
Yeah. I wrote this book on happiness, and this famous paper by Daniel Gilbert, about an unfocused mind is an unhappy mind. And, I could probably use more focus, whether it's clinical ADD or not. Yeah.
Your scan's not terribly ADD.
Oh, that's
I'll show it to you in a minute. All right, we looked at your brain. We do a study called SPECT, and SPECT looks at blood flow and activity. It looks at how your brain works. And this is an example of a really healthy scan. So this is your scan. And a lot of your brain is awesome, but here are the concussions.
Oh, you can see them?
Right there. Your temporal lobes right here get whacked, and you can actually see it right here.
That's a good cut. Wow. And are we looking at dead tissue there? Or?
You are not. You're looking at sleeping tissue. I've seen a lot of 62-year-old brains. A lot. your brain is really healthy
that's
for
good.
somebody your age. And so we'll get back to it, but we look at the top, you're not getting dementia. I can tell 20 years before you have symptoms whether or not you're going to get Alzheimer's disease or frontal temporal dementia. You are not.
What do you
Now,
see?
you've worked really hard on your health, right? Studied health. You know, perhaps the only thing we might disagree on is the alcohol. But you have a healthy brain, but it's also one that has been hurt. And if we look right here, it's pretty clear. It got hurt in areas where you might have trouble finding words and short-term memory.
Interesting.
So you can actually...
So those divots that's sleepy tissue.
Yeah. Now, the question I would have is, can I make it better? A whole bunch better.
Oh.
So it's not dead, it's sleepy. And I always say it's three things. Gotta love your brain. So I call it brain envy. Freud was wrong. Venus envy is not the cause of anybody's problem. Not seen it once. The organ you want big is your brain. That's the one size matters. Avoid things that hurt it, and then do things that help it. Your emotional brain is pretty busy. So I wanted to just chat about that. My emotional brain is busy all the time, and I'm not anxious and I'm not depressed, but I can't stop. Like if I have an hour free, I will fill it with a project. If I go on vacation, it's like, oh, we went to the beach for like half an hour. Okay, I'm gonna go do something.
Yeah. Check that box. So now what?
But sometimes when I see this diamond, there's past emotional trauma. Anything significant for you?
Emotional trauma.
And nothing that sort of lasted, that circles in your head that you have trouble getting rid of?
Not now, but I have in the past.
Did you get sad after you sold your company?
I've been working so hard. You know, I did like 50 speeches. I wrote an article for National Geographic. I wrote a book. And the process of selling a company is a year-long emotional roller coaster. I just wanted to take a break. And then the pandemic hit. So I thought, great, I'm going to spend the next, year or two just getting healthy, reading other books, enjoying life, because I think at the end of the day, there should be a balance between productivity and savoring life, and I'm like product, and wasn't savoring. But then I got about 3 or 4 months into it. And there's some big disappointments. And then I realized, I had enough of the repose. I want to get back out there, be relevant and contribute and learn. And there's a quote I just heard last week from an 82-year-old guy named Jim Flanagan who really inspired me. He said, at a certain point you realize that work is more fun than fun. And that's the case for me.
It's totally the case for me. Head trauma we talked about. T is toxins. You have a great brain. I mean, I am not a fan of alcohol for so many reasons. Brand new study out today, 5 million people, moderate drinking decreases lifespan. It doesn't increase lifespan. So I would just say less is better.
I generally agree. And especially with age, I find you tolerate it less. I'm somewhat influenced by this Blue Zones work. So in these Blue Zones, we know people statistically live the longest. And almost all people drink moderately there. It's part of a culture in Sardinia and Ikaria, even Okinawa. So it doesn't seem to be inconsistent with living a long, healthy life. But to your point, I would probably agree with you. They might even live a little longer. So once again, it gets back to that sort of savoring life and saving your life. You know, it's that. But I think from a medical point of view, you're absolutely right. And I should probably rethink my 2 drinks a day.
For my patients, the ones I see every day, you're doing awesome. But you and I are not about normal. We're about optimal.
Yeah.
So how can we improve this?
So do you think this, other than like seeing it, I'm not so anxious to see another scan of my brain, but do you think this protocol that you're going to suggest would move my memory and these other cognitive abilities more positive?
I do.
Which ones do you think that your protocol will have the biggest impact on?
Memory.
That's the one I'm most interested in. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you really decrease drinking, I would do that. I'd take it from 10 a week to 2. The supplements. I think if you just did those 2 things, because you're doing so many other things right already, that'll have a big impact. So less alcohol. I'll put together these supplements for you. 2 packets a day, multiple vitamin fish oil, brain boost. And it's our blue box. If your brain was worse, I give you our red box. It's got more stuff in it, but also something called advanced blood flow. I just see it as a problem.
My intention here is to go at what you recommend here hard and see if it changes my brain.